Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back. Hi, everybody. Come on in, take a seat. We're glad to get started again. We are very pleased to have with us next Representative Rick Larsen from the state of Washington. He is chairman of the House Aviation Subcommittee and, of course, well known to most of you. Congressman Larsen's full bio is on our website, and I want to leave most of the time to hear his remarks. But I do want to recognize how important his efforts were, truly, to ensure that airlines of all sizes could participate in workforce relief, to keep our people on payroll as the industry grappled with some of its hardest months. Even before that, we've had a long and steady partnership with Representative Larsen. He authored several provisions in the 2018 FAA bill related to aviation workforce that are really coming to fruition today. He's also introduced the Promoting Service and Transportation Act to champion transportation jobs, helping to diversify the workforce, which we strongly support. Although COVID is still impacting the business in many big ways, we're quickly returning to hire, and we look forward to hearing the Congressman's thoughts on workforce, infrastructure, and any number of the proposals that he and his colleagues hope to advance this year. So with that, please join me in welcoming via our Zoom platform, Congressman Larsen.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the opportunity to address you. Hope the sound is okay from your end.
It is.
Great. Well, thanks for the introduction. Appreciate the chance to be with you all in this format, and appreciate your indulgence in allowing me to use this format. You know, up until like July 10th, I was back to shaking hands and all sorts of things, and because of Delta, the Delta variant, you know, I've stopped touching anything and everything. So it's just great to be with you all today. I want to thank the Regional Airline Association generally as well for inviting me today. Regional airlines and regional airports mean jobs, and they mean economic recovery in the Pacific Northwest and across the country, but certainly in my neck of the woods. So as our country continues to work to get to the other side of COVID-19, Congress has to continue its work to support the aviation industry. We need to help drive economic recovery and growth. Congress needs to help support the provision of safe, reliable, and sustainable air service. And Congress needs to continue to support a robust, inclusive, and diverse workforce as well. So in March, as you know, the president signed into law the American Rescue Plan. That included the extension of the very successful payroll support program through this Thursday, September 30th. September 30th is a deadline for a lot of things, as you might be aware, but it's through this Thursday. And the importance of this relief, just a moment here. Got my page numbers mixed up a little bit here. The importance of this relief has been just incredible. It is something I hear about from workers in the aviation workforce, no matter where they work and no matter where I'm traveling. Yeah. And so we're really pleased to have made that happen. But the American Rescue Plan also included my bipartisan language to prevent the aerospace manufacturing supply chain from deteriorating as well in this country, to hold back furloughs and recall workers who were furloughed during the pandemic. And so this Aviation Manufacturing Jobs Protection Program received a total of 480 applications across 2 rounds. And I recently held a roundtable with the U.S. Department of Transportation's Elliot Black, who is administering the program. And that roundtable was successful as well. But the ARP also included $8 billion in emergency funding to help U.S. airports keep infrastructure projects on track and to maintain operations. And later this week, the Transportation Committee will hold a second hearing on the impact of federal relief and response efforts to the pandemic on transportation and infrastructure sector and its workers. And I myself will continue to push for a national aviation preparedness plan to ensure the safety of aviation crews, employees, and passengers, and ensure that we continue to work to restore confidence in air travel. But this week's also a big week for a number of reasons, including infrastructure. We used to joke that every week was Infrastructure Week. This week literally is Infrastructure Week. And we need a big, bold FDR-like investment in infrastructure to foster long-term economic growth, create well-paying jobs, and build a cleaner and greener transportation network. Now, according to the Association of Washington Business, the Chamber of Commerce in Washington State, Washington State's aviation sector needs to invest an estimated $13.6 billion to plan for and to build for future passenger growth. So this week, Speaker Pelosi indicated that we will be voting on Thursday on what some call the BIF, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Framework. This includes $25 billion for airports, funding for the Airport Improvement Program, upgrades to FAA assets that ensure safe and efficient air travel, a new initiative to support terminal renovations and multimodal connections, and the Build Back Better Act, which, is it's the reconciliation bill, which I don't think we'll take up this week, but we'll see, includes $1 billion in funding for a low emission aviation technology grant program comprised of two parts. One part focused on grants for sustainable aviation fuel infrastructure projects, and grants for air carriers, manufacturers, nonprofits, and others for R&D for the development or application of low emission aviation technologies. So there's, again, it's a lot going on in the aviation world and infrastructure this week. But of course, technological innovation and global competitiveness are only possible with continued federal investment in the U.S. workforce to produce the next generation of engineers, operators, technicians, and aerospace workers. Your industry alone will need more than 800,000 pilots, 769,000 technicians, and nearly 20,000 air traffic controllers to meet demand over the next 10 years. To meet that increasing demand for new and skilled aviation workers, employers must be expanding the talent pool from which they have traditionally drawn. So earlier this year, I worked with Republican Don Young from Alaska to introduce bipartisan legislation to promote career opportunities and improve diversity in the transportation workforce. I also chaired a hearing in July to learn from key stakeholders about the challenges with and recommendations for developing a robust and diverse U.S. aviation workforce. Now, I acknowledge I have more to do to understand and to address systemic barriers that have enabled inequity and injustice to persist in the U.S. And I was pleased to see the Regional Airlines Association submitted written testimony committing to improving diversity and inclusion in the workforce. And I'll continue to work to improve access to initiatives such as STEM-based apprenticeships through my bipartisan American Wings Act, which provides a 6-year runway for high school students through community college and into a registered apprenticeship, preparing them for well-paying jobs in in-demand industries. Finally, as chair of the Aviation Subcommittee, I have made aviation safety and sustainability a priority. And last week, we heard from frontline aviation workers about the alarming spike in unruly passenger behavior. The subcommittee received many recommendations to reduce these incidents and ensure passengers and crews are safe to fly. And I look forward to working with my colleagues in the industry to put some of these recommendations into practice. There are a lot of them. We're still going through them all. And I'll continue to work with all of you to create a cleaner and greener aviation network as we make strides in areas like sustainable fuels, greening ground operations, air traffic control modernization, and incorporating new entrants into the airspace. I'm confident that Congress, with the administration's support, that we will be able to support and help regional airlines and airports move forward towards a long-term economic recovery and to soar into the future. Sorry, I didn't write this. But I want to thank you for inviting me to virtually join you today, and I look forward to joining you in person in the future. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, and I have a few minutes for questions.
Okay, well, we really appreciate that, and we appreciate your remarks and holding both of those really important hearings that you referenced. Most recently, the unruly passengers, that's been a real concern area and gotten a lot of discussion this week. And, we hadn't waited for the FAA. We went to the FAA and to the TSA, and I have to say, to their credit, they have been really, really good partners about this, and the zero tolerance has had some effect. We would like to see some more. It's no secret that we would like to see some more enforcement and fewer of these stories ending with no arrests were made. So I think that's one of the focus areas that we may have going forward. And I want to thank you for the hearing that you held on diversity and inclusion and for reading my testimony. Our industry is working really hard to make this part of this, we're the entry point of the career, and we're trying to make it as good as possible for people in this career. But no matter how great we make it, we still need to help them get over. So we'll continue working with you on some of our efforts for higher ed as well. Really appreciate that.